My family laughed when the waiter greeted me by name at my own restaurant. My dad nearly choked on his wine. My sister leaned across the table and whispered, "Can you even afford to eat here?" And I smiled, because she had no idea. That moment came 5 years in the making. 5 years of silence, struggle, and proving to myself that the life I chose was worth every price I paid for it. And tonight, sitting across from my family in the dining room I built from nothing, I finally understood what it meant to come home, on your own terms. Growing up Mitchell in Greenwich, Connecticut wasn't a childhood, it was a performance. My parents, Margaret and Richard, had turned family life into a brand exercise. The right neighborhood, the right schools, the right futures. Our colonial house hosted fundraisers where my mother presented us like entries in a show, smiling widest whenever someone complimented my sister Heather's debate trophies or my brother Ethan's math awards. When the conversation turned to me, her smile would hold, but just barely. "Dara has her own path," she'd say, with the kind of warmth that had ice underneath it. My path led me to Elena's kitchen. Elena was our housekeeper, a Greek woman with flour-dusted hands and a laugh that filled every room she entered. While Heather rehearsed arguments and Ethan solved equations, I stood at Elena's elbow, learning how to coax flavor from simple things. "You taste with your whole body," she told me once, watching me adjust a sauce by smell alone. "That's not something you can teach." By 13, I was writing my own recipes. By 16, I was hosting secret dinner parties when my parents traveled. The kitchen was the only place I felt like myself, which is exactly why my father hated it. "Mitchells employ chefs," he said when I brought up culinary school junior year. "They don't become them." I applied to business schools to quiet the argument. Dartmouth, like my father, like his father before him, but I took every food science elective I could justify, and I ran a supper club out of my apartment. 5 courses, real money, real feedback. I told myself it was a hobby. I knew it wasn't. 6 months into my MBA, a chef named Laurent Perez came to campus. 3 Michelin stars, a reputation that made culinary students nervous just hearing his name. I had helped cater a university reception, and afterward he found me by the kitchen door. "Who taught you?" he asked, his accent precise, his eyes direct. "Myself," I said. "Books, trial and error." He handed me his card. "You are wasting yourself here. Come to New York. I will show you what you're capable of." 2 weeks later, I stood in my parents' living room and told them I was leaving the MBA program to attend culinary school. The silence lasted a long time. "This is unacceptable," my father said, quietly enough that it was worse than shouting. "You've invested in my education," I said, "not once in what I actually want." My mother's expression didn't break. It just closed. "If you do this, you do it without us. No support, no money, nothing." I said okay, and I meant it. The years that followed were the hardest of my life and the most honest. I staged in brutal kitchens, slept in a studio apartment so small I kept my knife roll under my bed, and worked until my hands cracked in winter. I failed a dozen times before anything worked, and then, slowly, something did. Tonight, the restaurant bearing my name was fully booked. My family came for Heather's engagement dinner, a reservation made without knowing whose name was on the door. I watched them settle in, my mother scanning the room for status signals, my father already reaching for the wine list, Heather leaning toward me with that familiar smirk. "Can you even afford to eat here?" Before I could answer, our head waiter crossed the room and caught my eye. "Welcome back, Ms. Mitchell." He smiled warmly. "Shall I bring out the tasting menu?" My father set down his glass. My mother stared. Heather went very still. I smoothed my napkin across my lap and met each of their eyes one by one. "Yes," I said. "Please."